Hey dudes, welcome back to the bands. It's Thursday, so it's time for another What's Happening in Fashion this week. So let's just jump right into it. And as always, we're going to start off with the art for the week, and we do have a couple more stories than usual. So first off, Complex did a nice little YouTube interview with Kaws. It's about 20-25 minutes, but if you're interested in him or any background in his art, it's definitely worth watching. Then it was announced that Damien Hirst is bringing his formaldehyde animals exhibit to Hong Kong. If you're not familiar with the collection and you're a fan of art, I'd definitely check it out. Then Juxtapose put up a nice little gallery of images on Shepard Fairey's exhibit that I talked about a couple videos ago, and it's definitely worth looking into as well. They also put up a gallery of Wasted Rita's last exhibit, and if you're a fan of Barbara Kruger, I would definitely check that out as well. They also sat down for an interview with Belgian duo Hello Collective. If you're a fan of maybe learning more about them or what it's like to collaborate in art, it's definitely worth a read. And lastly, Juxtapose put up a video recap of Pow Wow South Korea. So once again, if you're a fan of Pow Wow or just graffiti in general, definitely worth a watch. Then moving on into fashion, Hypebeast released their newest StockX TV episode, and if you're not familiar with those videos, basically what they are is it's a breakdown of what's popular and trending and new in the shoewear game. But even more so than that, even if you're not a fan of it, I would definitely check out the first couple minutes because their co-host is Verbal of M-Flow and Teriyaki Boys fame. And especially if you're one of the younger guys watching this channel, it's definitely worth knowing a little bit more about him and his importance in the industry over the years. Then, in probably what's the biggest fashion news of the week, it turns out that Japanese investors just bought 90% of Huff for $63 million. Holy shit, that's a ton of money. And I have to give a genuine congrats to Kith on this one. I mean, talk about what a fucking roller coaster ride it's been for you. I mean, last decade you had one of the biggest streetwear brands of the time coming down to the lowest when, you had to pretty much close up all your stores. And now you're back on top once again. I mean, congratulations, man. That's no fucking joke. That's Birdman rubbing hands money right there. But I do have to say, before all you young entrepreneurs out there start getting dollar signs in your eyes, there's a reason why this went as well as it went. And it's because these Japanese investors are buying up Huff because it's a skate brand, and a popular skate brand at that. And the only reason they're buying it is because they're getting ready for skateboarding in the Olympics. So if you can learn anything from this, it's if you're going to do streetwear, diversify it a little bit. And speaking of other skate news, Vans just came out with their newest collaboration with Mqqneyes, and honestly, I think it looks pretty cool. If you're not familiar with the history, let me give you a little bit of a recap. Mqqneyes is really well known in the hot rod industry for doing parts and pieces and just their designs overall. And they've been doing collaborations with Vans, I think, pretty much for decades now. And even though I do think that the apparel here is pretty bad, the shoes are completely on point and a little bit more different than even some of the more crazy Vans collaborations. If you can get your hands on them, I definitely would. Then the brand Storvo put out a Spring/Summer 2018 lookbook, and personally, I really like it. Wait, is that another Unknown Pleasures inspired t-shirt? God damn it. But aside from that, I like the overall patterns here. I think a couple of the graphics are pretty cool. And if you're a fan of streetwear, it's definitely worth checking out. And in some of the funnier fashion news this week, turns out that there's a power plant just north of Stockholm, Sweden, that is using old H&M product as a means of power source to power the plant. In other words, they're burning it. So for those of you out there that always thought that H&M was trash just like me, well, now you have definitive proof. Moving on to some actually good fashion news, Glamb just released a Spring/Summer 2018 lookbook, and holy shit, does this look fucking great. There's a ton of crazy designs in here, and a lot of it is just a mesh and hybrid of many different styles of menswear. You got contemporary mixed with tech, you have contemporary mixed with street, you have street mixed with tech. Overall, if you're a fan of any of that, especially contemporary, but looking for something a little bit crazier than normal, or even if you're just looking for some inspiration, definitely worth looking at this one this week. Necessity Sense and Lane Crawford also released a capsule collaboration together, and it looks really nice as well. Although this is definitely a lot more toned down contemporary than the last lookbook, even so, some of the graphics here are really nice, some of the pieces look really quality, and overall, there's a couple little just different details and accents here and there that really put the pieces together. If you're a fan of contemporary, definitely worth checking out. Dior Homme also released a lookbook for their newest black carpet collection, and I think they did a really, really fantastic job with it. With all the luxury fashion houses nowadays that are just going completely over the top with their crazy, gaudy, just truly ugly and asinine looks, excuse me, Dior has always done a really good job of toning that down, and I think this is just a perfect example here. If you've seen a lot of their black carpet collections in the past, they do keep that black silhouette there, and it's very clean and very desirable, but they always add just a little bit of detail and a little hint of crazy here and there that really makes the suit pop without going completely overboard. Definitely worth looking out if you're interested in formal wear, and if you haven't seen any of their black carpet collections before, go check that stuff out. Great stuff. Moving on, Kith released their Moncler collection lookbook, and I have to say, honestly, I'm not that big of a fan. Over the last couple weeks, I've just continuously been praising Kith just over and over and over again, but I think the buck stops here, unfortunately. Truthfully, the colors here aren't bad. I think they're really great overall. I do think that some of the designs are pretty nice as well too, as well as some of the graphics, but I just don't like the overall feel of it. But maybe that's just because I'm not a huge fan of Moncler in general, but even so, it doesn't take aside from the fact that pretty much all the shoes here are trash. But even so, if you fancy yourself a fan of Moncler, I would at least give this a look. Then Lyst.com put out their 2017 Year in Fashion retrospective, and I think it's pretty insightful overall. Although it is mainly pertaining to women's fashion here, a lot can be taken into menswear too, so let me break that down for you. So they went over a lot of different trends, styles, palettes, and so on, and here's what we can take away from this. Color is back in. Doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's bright and colorful. All over prints are back in. Checkers, plaids, floral prints, and anything like that. And even different materials are in. So maybe not so much leather, but like velvet, suede, velour, things like that. Also graphics are trending, but a lot of, once again, all over patterns, well-known luxury fashion house logos, and what they consider woke fashion. So things like, I don't know, feminist, gender neutral, things like that, like very politically driven and inspired stuff. So basically, what does this all mean? Well, it means that maximalism is fully thriving right now. And I mean, if you've been following fashion for the last couple of years, you could definitely see it coming. So if you think you need to feel in trend and fashionable, that's where this next year is going to be. We're not seeing minimalism, we're not seeing like dark colors, earth tones, anything like that become really, really trendy ending time soon. And once again, if you want to look more into this article, it's definitely worth a read. But once again, take it with a grain of salt, as it is pretty much entirely women's fashion. The brand Wander also released a Spring-Summer 2018 lookbook, and I think they did a really good job with it overall. This lookbook is absolutely, completely inspired by tech wear, but not the necessary ninja core, cyberpunk stuff that you might be used to. There's a lot of color in here, there's some really nice shells in here, and there's even some pieces that I would consider too crazy to wear in a normal day-to-day. However, if you are a fan more of maybe hiking wear, or kind of just mountaineering wear in general, or maybe even just light running wear, this is definitely worth looking into. There's some really fantastic tech pieces here, but more for actual technical use. Alright, and with that, let's move on to our articles for the week. First up, Highsnobiety put out an article about how to wear a beret, because apparently berets are starting to go back into fashion, as can be seen in a lot of Japanese wear right now. And I just have to say, I mean, if you want to learn how to wear a beret, wear it, but please let's not bring berets back into fashion, at least in the States. It's not for us, and it's not going to look good, and more than likely, unless you have the actual style wardrobe for it, you're not going to be able to pull it off. Then Heddles put out another nice historical article on the difference in flight jackets between the 1920s to 1950s. So once again, if you're interested in history of fashion, or maybe just learning more about flight jackets in general, definitely worth a read. Then Grail put out a pretty amazing interview with some of the people behind Totokaelo, which is a store down in New York City's Soho district. Basically, if you're a fan of just learning more about the business of fashion, what it's like to run a brick and mortar, be a buyer, do visuals, that sort of thing, this is definitely worth a read. Awesome interview overall. Complex also put out a very nice article about Sarah Andelman, who's one of the creators and founders of Colette, the boutique giant in France, and what the importance of collaborations meant to them. If you're a fan of wanting to know more about Colette, or just about what they did as far as collaborations in general, or basically what collaborations mean in fashion, this is definitely worth reading. It's a great article as well. Then Retail Dive put out a very interesting article about how the company WeWork is looking to expand into retail spaces. And if you don't know about the brand, or company I should say, WeWork, basically what they do right now is short-term leases in offices and the whole idea of office sharing. So basically what that means for retail, or in this case fashion retail, is that you could possibly go into a mall or another small brick and mortar location, maybe in like a nice area of town, be it like a more artsy part of the city, and do a short-term lease on a brick and mortar, which I think would be a huge game changer to a lot of these companies that are too small to be able to get sucked into a year or a couple year lease. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, I definitely take a look at this article. And then lastly, the New York Times sat down with Ronnie Fieg of Kith fame, obviously, and if you're interested in him or what he's done for fashion or the shoe game or just anything he's done in general or want to know more about him, definitely worth looking into. Alright guys, and with that we come to the end of another With for the week. I just kind of want to wrap with you guys a little bit here. I want to know what you guys have been thinking about With. Personally, I think it's slowly getting better and better, but as always, I need you guys to let me know. Aside from that, I'm really excited to show you what the new layout's going to look like behind me. That got delayed a little bit, but it's probably going to happen sometime in the next week. Also, as far as a video update, I think there's been a ton of more articles that I've been getting recently, and I think I'm going to go from Monday to Thursday to Monday, Wednesday, Friday. What do you guys think about that? Do you want to see a third video for the week? And if not Wednesday or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, is there a different time space you'd want? Just let me know. I'd like any opinions I can possibly get. But yeah, aside from that, as always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, comments, want to talk about anything that's going on in the industry, feel free to drop me a line. And as always, hope you guys have a good weekend, and until next time.